Brook City has 1 to 4 cops trying to complete objectives, solve crimes, and stop the criminals. It's made by Adam and Brady Sadler, the designers of 2 of my favorite games, The Walking Dead New Sanctuary and Street Masters, which was my 2018 Game of the Year. There is so much to this, but I'll keep things short and simple. You'll soon be thinking, this is the short and simple version? Yes. Yes, it is. Select a cop deck, mini, colored ring, and the matching BCPD cruiser card and mini. Put the ID and vehicle cards nearby. The ID card shows your stress value, basic action, and approach. A gun means you're reckless, a hat is normal, and a walkie-talkie means you're cautious. Vehicles usually have an exhaust and/or ditch action that you can do on your turn. Cop decks have cards that take place when you play them, encounters, and tactics that stay in your play area so that you can trigger combos later. These cards also have approach icons. A cop may not usually be cautious, but knows when to stay low. Criminal cards show their bust threshold, or health, in the top left. A number and P means you multiply the number by the number of players. The symbols mean resistance to approaches. You'll need to exceed that number to put progress on a criminal. On the boss, certain game effects will be shown, including what to do when they are busted. On minions, it shows where they spawn and what to do during the activation phase. The gray tokens are stress. You don't want your stress to reach the stress value on your ID card. The gold tokens are influence. The badges are hunches, which can be used in a few ways, including being traded in after dice rolls to turn a hunch icon to a success. Handcuffs are progress, which you'll be putting on clues and criminals in order to defeat them. Leads appear at a location and stay there until collected. Once you're adjacent to a lead, you take the card and draw a new one. This lead is yours, which can be discarded for a bonus or kept to help with some case cards. Case cards can be events that trigger right away, clues that are placed on the board and need to be interacted with, and so on. There are multiple cops, multiple criminal decks, and multiple case decks. Once everything is chosen and set up, including the cruisers and leads, you're ready to go. Players can go in whatever order they choose, but have to follow a set order of phases. The dispatch phase. A cop refreshes all cop cards in their play area, then draws and resolves a criminal card. The act phase. A cop can perform a move step or stay in place and heal a stress. There's a card step, which is draw a card or play and resolve one, and/or an action step, such as move again, interact with something on the board, gain a hunch, and so on. The crime phase. From left to right, activate each card in your crime area. If a card was exhausted, it wakes up but doesn't activate. The draw phase. Draw a card, then flip your turn card to show everyone that your turn is over. After all cops have gone, the criminal turn begins. From left to right, activate each card in the criminal play area. Once this is done, the case turn begins. From left to right, activate each card in the case play area, then draw and resolve a card from the case deck. After this, it's time for the cops to go again. You lose if a cop is fully stressed. Cases also have their own win and loss conditions. You win if you meet the one, and lose if you meet the other. There are usually more ways to lose than win. Play cards move around the board to interact with a target and put those criminals away. That's Brook City. Our dining table is 7 feet by 3.5 feet, and we need most of it for Brook City. The board is huge. There are a bunch of bits and decks, and your player areas grow as you play. The box says 45 to 120 minutes. I guess 45 is for solo players, because our games, like most games by Adam and Brady Sadler, last at least 2 hours. I'd actually recommend setting aside 2.5 to 3 hours. As always, that includes setup and takedown. Be warned, analysis paralysis or freezing when a decision needs to be made will make this last forever. This game is all about being smart and efficient. I've played games like this for years. Even so, I don't think I would have been able to handle this when I started reviewing games. It's much more about optimization than Street Masters. I'll talk about this and the other Sadler Brothers games later on. I'd say save this for the average 10-year-old, but look things over first. Some of the cases might be a bit intense for younger kids. In our 6th game of Brick City, we played the Velocity expansion. It might sound familiar. A bus has a bomb on it and must keep driving or else it'll go off. You need to manipulate its route, clear the streets, and disarm the bomb by commandeering the bus and driving it into the water. Easy, right? Oh, and there's all the usual crime happening at the same time. Anyhow, we weren't doing too badly and managed to work through rough spots. At some point, we were like, we're actually going to win. We had cops at intersections to turn the bus, and we're keeping the streets clear. Mom boarded the bus and got it 2 spaces away from the water. We just needed to survive the case phase. The card that came out unfortunately triggered the effects of Lita's hideout. Why did it have to be that one? We would have won if pretty much any other card was drawn. Still, it was pretty epic. Brick City's pressure and tension is so thematic. Do I go after the clue? It'll take a while, but we can't crack the case without clearing those. A lead could help, but it's on the other side of town. Maybe someone else could go grab it, and I could go after the criminal or their minions. Like all games by the Sadlers, actually, this is true for most modular games. Setup and takedown is a chore. This is quicker than Street Masters because everything fits into a single box. You at least don't have to build custom search decks like in The Walking Dead No Sanctuary. Still, though, give everyone a task to speed things up, plus to keep players from getting bored before the game even starts. Velocity is my favorite of the boxed expansions. It's super exciting because of how easily everything can go wrong for you, and I like how the objectives change as you go through the story. Delta Keys is really hard and adds even more to keep track of. I like the 2 cases, the way Contraband works, and the way Anatoly and his minions work. Just remember to bring someone to help with stress and travel. The 6th cycle is intense and violent, so some people might find it to be too much. I like it, but not as much as the other 2. I do recommend tracking down all the expansions, if you're a fan of the base game. This game is long. This is a like and dislike. It's so epic and exciting, but it doesn't hit our table as much as we'd like. In the same amount of time, we could play a handful of other games. Are they as enjoyable though? The publisher, Blacklist, packed their games full of an incredible amount of stuff. Like, how? It's amazing what you get for the price, even if you get all the Kickstarter stuff like we do. Their games tend to be really well made with excellent graphic design. Well, aside from the playmat. If you want the Kickstarter edition with all the goodies, skip the mat. Don't be tempted by the spaces to keep the decks and cards. It's blurry and the colors are wrong. Plus, the deck spots make it harder for people on the one side of the table. I do have one tiny issue. Unlike in Street Masters where the punch, grapple, and kick tokens make sense, the first few times here, you'll be like, what do the handcuffs mean again? Here's a tip for your first game. Stress is not the token with the big S on it. I wish the cops had stories like the fighters in Street Masters. I'm okay without having a big campaign in the variable stages because the cases in City here change each time you play. But cop goals and weaknesses and other fun stuff? Yes, please. Oh, and I'd love to see a double-sided city map in an expansion with different layouts. Give us alleys and dead ends and other cool stuff. Ooh, and maybe someone can play as the criminal. I need more. I love Brick City for all of the different choices and the mechanisms. The Sadler Brothers modular deck system is one of my favorites. The art is great and the way the clues and leads work, and it's fantastic. I recommend this to co-op fans, people who like games that feel like a movie, and those who enjoy the hand management mechanism. The Sadlers make games that look American style, loads of theme, tons of minis, and lots of dice rolling. The thing is, their games are all about maximizing and optimizing your turns and using your cards to mitigate luck and/or put yourself in a good position for the future. Street Masters is one of my favorite games of all time. The Walking Dead No Sanctuary is in my top 10 or 15. Brick City edges No Sanctuary because there's more for players to do and think about, but falls short of Street Masters because the board isn't as interesting as the older game's stages, and this doesn't have individual player stories. Brick City does enough things to stand out from the other Sadler games, yet is familiar enough that if you know them inside out, you can pretty much jump right into this one. If you haven't played those games, just go for the one that most appeals to you. Brick City is a really good game, especially with the expansions, but I don't think the base game is as good as Street Masters' base. Even so, I highly recommend it.